Hello everyone, welcome to another video where I'll be giving my thoughts on the markets. In this one we're gonna focus on a couple of different charts, not only crypto but also the S&P 500 and some commodities, gold, silver and platinum. So let's get straight into the video, starting off with Bitcoin. Alright, so some nice upside movements after we swept the lows quite aggressively, strong buyback and continuation to the upside. The question on everyone's minds right now is, are we heading for all-time highs, or is this just like all the other pumps, a pump straight into resistance that results into lower prices? All right, so let's give our thoughts on that, both high time frame and low time frame, and explain what my plan is. So we'll start off on the weekly, as the main level that I'm focusing on, at least, to sort of see whether we have a breakout that leads to all-time highs or not, is gonna be this high. Okay, so former all-time high at 110k, that's the level that got swept here. We broke back below, ugly weekly close, we wicked in there, right? We said exactly the same there. If we would have closed the weekly above that level, that would indicate a breakout and likely send us a lot higher. But as you can see, bearish retest on the weekly that resulted in new lows. All right, so straight away, that's the level that we're gonna need to break in order for us to see new all-time highs. I mean, it sounds obvious, but that will be the main trigger for me as well, right? Okay, because we could see something like this where we sweep the highs again, nuke back below and close below. At that point, that would just be an ugly sweep, and the draw would be to the downside. So for me, a weekly close above there, then we're full bull. Okay, until then I'm mainly focusing on the lower time frames a bit, but it's so far looking pretty good. Why? Because yeah, first things first, we swept the lows aggressively. Okay, that's a good sign. Swept the lows aggressively, not that on its own, but also the reaction we got. So we swept the lows, bounced very strong, closed strong, and saw continuation to the upside. Does that mean we're gonna go for straight away for all-time highs? Of course not. Potentially a bit more ranging before that. But the fact that we swept those lows aggressively and saw strong buyback is a good sign in my opinion. Now, another important level that I was watching is of course gonna be the monthly open. And we broke above the monthly open, which is a good sign as well. As you can see on the lower time frames, broke above, retest, and pumped to new local highs. Okay, if you take this as the local lower high, right, then if prices wanted to make a lower high, it should have been from here, like this. That would have been a sweep above the monthly open, break back below, and send prices lower. But that didn't happen. Instead, we just pumped, made a new high, right? And things are looking pretty solid. Does that mean I think that we're gonna go straight up from here? No. I'm personally flat on Bitcoin. I do think there's a good chance that Bitcoin trades higher in the coming days to weeks. But personally, I don't see the risk reward in longing up here. All right. If we look at a clean chart like this, we obviously got the liquidity that has been swept below these lows. What's the opposite side of this? That's gonna be these highs. But local highs have been swept right here. So what I could see is, as you can see, from this sweep here, we saw upside and upside without sweeping a lot of liquidity to the downside. So what I could see here is we just swept this into supply, local supply. Would be something like this, where we get back below here, sweep the lows into this pivotal area, just in general, somewhere around here. All right, sweep the lows. As you can see, all of this liquidity, then get back above there and pump to new highs from there. So it's not because you're bullish, right? That you have to long where price is currently at. So for me, I don't see the setup in longing here, but if we do get a sweep to the downside, at that point you have your invalidation below these lows and you have your target up here. That would look something like this. Boom, invalidation there, target up there, and a potential target way higher. Good risk reward, high probability. Take it from there. If we do move up from here, then so be it. I'll be focusing on other setups. So if we do something like this, definitely wouldn't be shorting this unless we go for the highs, we break back below, see weakness, right? At that point, you have a clean invalidation above the highs and you target range lows again, okay? But in my opinion, Bitcoin is looking pretty solid. Let's just take a look at that monthly open, right? Guess what? The pivotal price section that I just marked here in the green lines up beautifully with the monthly open. So give it a quick dip below the monthly open, retest those levels, and then higher from here. All right. Personally, wouldn't FOMO into longs up here, as I wouldn't feel safe with an invalidation unless it's below those lows. And as you can see, the risk reward isn't ideal like that. So looking good. But personally, I would like to see a dip before moving higher. All right. Then moving on to Ethereum, which has a really clean chart as well. The main range that we are trading in at the moment and for the last couple of weeks was the 2.3 to 2.75 K level range. We pumped aggressively from this consolidation, and ever since then we started ranging. We swept the highs, swept the lows. Then when we broke below here, we said if we aggressively reclaim the lows, that would be the sign to target range highs again. If we reclaim range highs from there, we target higher. If we didn't do that, as long as we didn't do that, we would target lower. All right. What did we get? We aggressively reclaimed the lows. So for me, as long as we hold above range low levels and the demand where the move started, there's no reason to be really bearish on Ethereum. And it makes more sense to me to look for longs on dips rather than to look for shorts. Does that mean I'm longing here? Again, no. What I'm watching here on Ethereum, you have this ugly daily candle at the moment with a flat bottom. Looks very ugly. So I would like to see that getting swept. We have some lows right below there as well on the lower time frames on the 4 hour. So what I'm watching here, we just swept the highs. Looking for the opposite side of those highs. Sweep the lows into demand and then look for strength to trade it back towards some highs. If we take a look at where OTE is resting, it's resting right below there, right below that little sweep that we also saw on Bitcoin. So look for longs there, keep your invalidation below there, and then even if you just target these highs, you're already looking at 1.5R, but at that point I would be targeting range highs, which would be a 3R setup. All right, so one liquidity point to another, waiting for the perfect setup, the ideal entry, and go from there. All right, if that doesn't happen and we see something like this and see ugly closes down here and the highs getting sold into and bearish sweeps, at that point we'll get out, we'll target a lot lower until again we smash back above this range low and reclaim in this range. At that point we target the highs again. Okay, but for Ethereum, it's looking, this looks like a solid setup to me. So that's the one that I'm gonna be watching. All right. On the weekly on Ethereum, on the other hand, this is low time frame price section. If you're looking at the higher time frames, because even this move could even play out something like this without a lot happening on the weekly, right? If you take a look at the weekly clean chart, what do you see? Let me do it like this. What do you see on the weekly? we had this range here. Up, there. We had this range here with all of these candles with small bodies, right? And long wicks up and down. And then where did we sort of break out towards? That was to the downside, right? And now all we've seen was a pump right into that resistance area. So on the weekly, this should be seen still as a bearish retest until we close the weekly above this consolidation, right? That's why I said a lot can happen on the lower time frames. Price can do this, sweep the lows like we said. We can trade it towards the highs for 1.5R, go for this high and still close bearish, right? And then target a lot lower. So a lot can happen within a weekly candle without the weekly candle changing a lot. So this will be the setup. So the setup that I just talked about, sweeping the lows and targeting the highs. This will be the setup that I will be looking to play on the lower time frames. But on the higher time frames, I am cautious until we close the weekly above here. All right, so weekly close above 2.6K, that would be the trigger, buy the dip and sell new highs. All right, that's Ethereum. And then hype, right? Mostly watching the lower time frames. What do we have here? Marked out the Monday range, swept Monday high into supply. Could need a bigger sweep into supply, I'm not sure. But I am in some lower time frame shorts. Why? Because as I said, we swept Monday high into this resistance area, key level here as well. And we have unswept lows right there, unswept Monday low. So in my opinion, it would make sense to at least sweep this, but at that point, likely go for Monday low as well and see higher from there. This is the only position that I'm in right now. So lower time frame hype shorts. Now, I did go very low risk on this setup. Why? Because I could see us spike higher first into OTE, really test this level, right? And then smash back below here. And at that point, see the real downside back towards Monday low. So for now, my invalidation is tight, but my risk is very low. If we see downside, I'll still make profit and good profit for such a setup. If we pump higher, no worries. I might try again if we see a move like this, where we sweep the highs into resistance and break back below those key levels. All right, that's that. The S&P stocks, right, aggressively swept weekly lows. High time frame, the only resistance that I had left was weekly supply up here. So that was a sideways price action here that led to the big dump. In my opinion, if there was a place where this would reject and potentially go lower again, it was this area. But as you can see, the weekly is shaping up really, really nicely. So in my opinion, we're not going to stop before all-time highs. And at that point, we do know what stocks do when they trade above all-time highs. I think we simply see a lot higher. So for me personally, I am using the fib levels from the high to the low, see where we target. I think we do trade a lot higher over the coming weeks to maybe even months, which would line up with Bitcoin going for all-time highs as well. Maybe not straight away, as I said, but just over the coming months. 7K will be my main target for stocks, right? Then some commodities, gold, starting off with gold. Gold saw a really good upside, right? But at the moment, it's sort of building a range, right? With this as the range highs and this as the range lows. Like this. Going to the daily, you can see how pivotal price action around range mean is. So for this one, I'm not becoming overly bullish as long as we're below this level and close weeklies below there. Close a weekly above here, I think continuation to the upside. As long as we don't do that, we're simply trapped in between range high, which is unswept, and range low, which is unswept. Main setup that I'd be watching for gold here would be something like this. Downside, sweep range lows, see a strong reclaim. At that point, you long. invalidation below the low, target range mean and range highs, maybe hold some in case we break out. All right, but gold simply ranging, so I'd focus on something else, maybe silver. Let's remove some of these. The plan, I posted a video earlier this week about silver, right? That we were watching these lows, we were looking for a sweep, we got the sweep. What did we say? If we sweep the lows, we'll be looking for longs, targeting the highs up here. If those get reclaimed, we would target new highs. That's exactly what I did. Posted the setup on Twitter and in the Discord. Longed after we swept the lows and reclaimed. Nice continuation towards the highs. I wanted to see some more price action around range highs, and that's what I'm going to do. So personally, I think I'm going to wait out the daily close. If the daily close is strong, I think we see continuation to the upside, potentially a lot higher than this. If not, and we close down here, I might take my profits and wait it out, because at the moment we're simply trapped in between low time frame range high resistance and low time frame range low support. So let's see if it has a lot of juice here. If it reclaims this, if it closes strong up here, then I think we'll go for the reclaim of this and send a lot higher from there. So that was the setup that I'm in. On the higher time frames, obviously things are looking beautiful, especially now that those lows have been swept. We swept weekly lows after breaking out. In my opinion, the next big move will be to the upside. That's also the reason why I'm being patient with longs, and why I'm looking to hold them into new highs. So even if we do go for another dip here, I will be looking to load up on longs, keep my invalidations wide there, look to add on reclaims, trail stops to there, and then looking to catch the breakout. And ultimately, I think this trades towards new all-time highs. Okay, so that's silver. And then the last one, platinum, absolute beast. We started talking about it ever since it has been ranging in here. I bought, I've been holding this for over 3 years, but I recently, since we broke out, added to my bags, and as you can see, it's just straight up ripping. Where am I targeting? Well, monthly chart, clean range, range high, range low. Mid-range is going to be pivotal in my opinion, so I hope we just smash through, but there is the potential that we reject after sweeping this at range EQ, see ranging, and then maybe breakout, we'll see. But those are bags for the long term, so long term I'm targeting a lot higher. But yeah, lower time frames looking very good as well. New highs, new higher highs after higher lows. Strong uptrend. So I do think even if we do something like this, for example, that we will be trading towards 1.5k next, and that's my short-term target for platinum. So definitely want to keep an eye on. All right. So that's gonna be it for today. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I'm posting a lot of content lately on YouTube, so subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed, comment with what you think. Big thanks to Blofin and Prime XBT, my partners. You can make an account on those exchanges and make a deposit. If you do so, you get free access to my Discord group where I post all of my trades live, more analysis, more setups. So yeah, go check it out if you want. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.